Nefereta was put on the OSP's website. So we'll show that to you. But Martin Kpebu is private legal practitioner. Is joining us on Zoom right now. Counsel, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. With the chronicling of events and the specific dates that Dennis has just done, corroborating what the OSP said earlier, this outcome of that's Nefereta being redeclared as a wanted man and a fugitive from justice, some say it's no surprise, is it not?
Yes, it's inevitable because you know, the Nefereta's lawyers didn't put up a good showing in terms of marshalling the kind of evidence that is needed to persuade the OSP to grant them an extension. So you can see that OSP complains that what they sent is next to nothing in terms of the evidence that is needed to persuade OSP for an extension of time. So one would have thought that, knowing that the stakes are very high, the Nefereta's lawyers would have come with a full dossier. You see, along the line, you hear that they're saying they were willing to provide more. Why don't you provide it? Yes, you know that this particular matter is a high stakes game because, you know, the February 12th or so that he was declared wanted, it took some negotiations, etc., to arrive at the next time for the meeting, which is today, 2nd June 2025. So knowing that there was already a history of Ofori having been declared wanted, the lawyers shouldn't have taken any chances. They should have come fully prepared. They should have sent a full dossier and then made other arrangements for OSP to talk to the doctors or any other form of verifying whatever they presented. But to the extent that all those things were not done, and even the OSP explains that that was late, that the lawyer's letter came to OSP on 28th of May, it shows that no, they don't appear prepared. They don't appear to have done the necessary kind of preparations that is required to get an extension from Mr. Kpebu.
I see.
So naturally, I mean, you can't blame Mr. Kpebu for putting Ofori back on the wanted list and now taking steps to extradite him and also taking steps to get him on the Interpol red alert.
I see, but Counsel, we're just learning as well from the special prosecutor today that the former finance minister has once again been declared, as it were, wanted. But then again, the details of his medical condition was updated. Now we're getting to know that he's been diagnosed with cancer. Not much detail was giving us to what stage of the cancer it is. But then again, we know, based on what the special prosecutor said today, that he is expected to undergo some medical procedure sometime on the 16th of June. But taking into consideration this detail and getting to know that, yes, his medical situation has probably changed and now he's been diagnosed with cancer, you say it's not enough to have convinced the special prosecutor to not declare him a wanted man today?
Absolutely, absolutely. They didn't do enough. You see, they didn't do enough. That's why Mr. Jabe asked that, do you know the number of people who walk around with cancer and are managing it? You say, do you know the number of people who walk around with cancer and are managing it? So I'm not a doctor, but from the little we've read around, we have different types of cancer. And even in terms of the potency of it, you hear malignant, malignant, and then you hear benign, and all those things, and at different terms. So it shows the aggression. All these things, you needed to show details, or as you know, God forbid, but is it the aggressive type, the one that Charlie is ravaging, moving very fast, rapidly, causing him harm, and so he needs constant doctor support, etc. Reveal it. I was telling earlier on in the 7 o'clock news, I was telling your colleagues that OSP knows how to keep these matters confidential. At least I've seen it in court, where lawyers for Patience Butri sought to get the documents that is the statements, etc., and the FBI information that OSP gathered, FBI gathered on Cecilia Dapa, etc. From the OSP. It was such a battle in court. And even before court, the lawyers wrote to OSP. OSP said, no, we can't release these documents because of confidentiality. Then it went to court. OSP kept battling it back and forth. Before finally, Justice Marie-Louise Simmons ruled in favor of Patience Botry that the OSP must give the documents to the lawyers to help her prepare her defense. Even with that, they didn't get all. It's not everything that was ordered to be given.
Right.
So the point I'm making is that if the lawyers gave OSP all of Ofori's health records, you can trust that they will be kept well. So what is their fear in terms of disclosing to the OSP the medical records?
I see. And Counsel, stay with me. I'm going to come back to you. But then again, Dennis, there was that wanted notice that the special prosecutor put on his website and social media on Ken Ofori. What does it say? Because there's some very interesting information in there.
Yes, so you would see it as displayed on the screen here. Wanted by OSP, by Office of the Special Prosecutor. Name, Kenneth Nanayao Ofori. Description, you have date of birth, 7th November 1958. Age, 66 years. Gender, male. Eye color, black. Hair color, black. Distinguishing marks, not applicable. Complexion, brown skin. Possible location or locations: United States, United Kingdom, South Africa, Guyana, Hong Kong, Cayman Islands. It continues to describe the reasons for which this wanted notice has been issued. Reasons that this suspect is wanted to answer charges in respect of several cases, including strategic mobilization GRE contract, termination of ECG BXC contract, National Cathedral payments, ambulance procurement contract, and tax refund account utilization. It goes on to say that anyone with information on the whereabouts of this individual should alert the office by calling or sending a WhatsApp message to 0554 494499 or 0554 484488. There's a serial number of the warrant that has been issued. And that's what you have.
And then flip back. Let's look at the countries. It says the possible locations of Ken Ofori.
Yes.
The United States,
United Kingdom,
the UK, South Africa, Guyana, Hong Kong, and the Cayman Islands. Now, because the special prosecutor has issued an Interpol red alert, what we did was to go on the Interpol website to see if these countries are member states of the Interpol, and whether or not, if they are not, how the search for Ken Ofori is going to be outside of that Interpol red alert that has been issued. Here's what we found out. We put it on the screen right now. So for the United States, we know because Ken Ofori was earlier reported to have been receiving medical treatment in a hospital in the US, is it not?
That's so.
Good. Now, if you look at, this is the Interpol website. The member states, we have South Africa there. We have the UK. We have Guyana, but we don't find Hong Kong and Cayman Islands as member states of Interpol. So you see Guyana there.
Yes, Guyana has the G
column.
The H.
And then there's no Hong Kong and H in there. And then also for South Africa, we see in the S column there as well, and the United States and UK there. This is where we bring in a security consultant, the former NIB BNI official, and that's Richard Kumado is joining us. Mr. Kumado, good evening. Thank you for joining us. I mean, looking at the locations that the special prosecutor has just provided, possible locations of Ken Ofori, these countries as listed. How does all of that strike you?
These are protocols investigation agencies have at their disposal to trigger, particularly when the key suspects or the culprits in a particular crime have jumped ship. So I wasn't surprised at all if you look at the discussions and the exchanges that took place between the special prosecutor and the office of Mr. Ken Ofori right from January 2nd to where we are. I knew it was going to get to this stage. What people would have asked is what took him so long. But from the explanations right from January to where we are, you can understand the various options at his disposal and why he decided to trigger the red alert as at this stage. What he did was not just a red alert, but he added almost every descriptive nature of our uncle Kenneth Ofori. That makes it easier for people who might not know him to be able to get to him when it becomes necessary.
I see, but we know that prior to today, we know Kenneth Ofori was reported to be receiving treatment at the Mayo Clinic in the United States, based on the information that his party in Parliament and also outside of Parliament gave. So we know that at least his presence in the U.S. was recorded as receiving treatment in this Mayo Clinic. Now we see the special prosecutor providing possible countries where he could be located. Additional 5 of them, making it 6 possible locations of Kenneth Ofori in terms of their country specific. I mean, how does this get to you? I mean, looking at the expansion of the tentacles of the countries of search.
Definitely, there's something we do internationally, and we do it nationally and regionally as well. We call it the travel history or travel checks. And travel history and travel checks gives you an identity or an itinerary of people, particularly when they are high-profile persons standing trial in whichever capacity or whichever form. I believe that search was done, and I believe some level of risk assessment was also put into place to be able to project and to predict the likely places might be. Remember, when the red alert is issued, the red alert notice is issued, he could surrender himself and come voluntarily, or there could be some other legal tendencies that may come up. And that is why the special prosecutor indicated that he will want to see him because they are the investigative stage, because he can also be tried in absentia. But there is the whole package of things that might have come in before some of these countries were listed. I believe there might be some other country that they are keeping from the general public because investigations are still going on. By and large, special prosecutor is looking for Kenneth Ofori. He triggered an option that is available to investigative agencies, and he's going to work with them in collaboration with all the other agencies across the group to ensure that they locate him and they bring him alive.
I appreciate your time on this one, Mr. Kumado. Thank you so much for joining us. Richard Kumado is a security consultant joining us here on Ghana Tonight. And the special prosecutor did not only talk about Kenneth Ofori today. Coming up next, still staying with the special prosecutor, is pursuing some officials and former officials of the National Petroleum Authority in what it says is a 280.5 million cedi corrupt scheme. And also he gave an update on Cecilia Dapa and matters arising. Dennis Pereira with Ms. Price still with me. Dennis, what did the OSP say about these cases?
Well, so the OSP is back to the National Petroleum Authority again. If you do recall, the very first time he addressed this matter on the former finance minister, he did also indicate that there was a matter that we're investigating at the National Petroleum Authority. Then he gave 3 names as possible suspects in that particular matter. Now today he says that they've been able to trace some 28.5 million Ghana cedis in respect of that particular matter. Just to put this matter in perspective, the National Signals Bureau is in court over some 49 million Ghana cedis. This is about 6 times, approximately 6 times that amount of money.
280.5.
Yes, and if you look at what he says as to what the money has been used for, it has the same semblance as we have seen in past allegations. So this involves some high-ranking and other officials, and he says that they are involved in what he says a corrupt scheme of using public office for profit. The details, he says, they'll come later because he officially prefers charges against some individuals. That's when we get to know who is responsible for what and who has taken away what. But he says there's a big one at the NPA. Also on the matter of Cecilia Dapa, you do recall that when the OSP pursued this matter, it got to a point that the OSP said the matter was not within his remit to do. He thought it was in the, within the confines of EOCO. That in his view, it was matters bordering on money laundering and structuring, for which he referred the matter to EOCO.
Sure.
The Attorney General then would advise EOCO that no, she should return, that's the executive director of EOCO then, return the docket back to the OSP because it did not have any basis. The explanation was that there was no there was no predicate offense for which the allegations of money laundering would lie, and also that when they requested for further documents, and the findings of the OSP, they did not get seen. So that docket was returned to the OSP. Now we are learning that with the new administration, IOCO, under a new administration, thinks that there's something in that matter that they need to revisit. So they've requested for the docket from the OSP, and the OSP has handed that docket over to the OSP. So what we are now learning...
To IOCO, you mean?
Sorry, to IOCO.
I see.
So what that effectively means is that in the coming days, you also see IOCO begin to look into that matter of the Madame Cecilia Dapa's stolen cash, which included some millions of foreign currency, which raises a lot of questions. So that matter is not closed as many would have thought. He also gave an update on the Republic versus Charles Edubuahen. This is a matter that our court correspondent, Lord Edwasa, reported on Friday to the effect that the second accused person in this matter, who is in the person of Andy Thomas Owusu, is seeking a plea deal. Right. That is to say, he wants to go into plea bargaining with the prosecution, either for a lesser sentence, so that they don't even go to trial or that kind of thing. So that's that by way of updates. But in the coming days, the OSP is under an obligation to give us a half-yearly report. That will now give us a breakdown of all the things they've been doing, including some other matters.
And it's a very important fact you put out there. And let's go back to Lawyer Martin Kpebu, still with us. Counsel, I mean, getting to know now that the new administration of the Economic and Organized Crime Office, IOCO, led by Raymond Atta, has taken interest in the Cecilia Dapa stolen cash saga. Comes as some refreshing news for you, looking at the consistent interest you have in this matter, as many people as well.
Oh, certainly, absolutely. Yes, it's good that Mr. Raymond Atta has asked for the file on Cecilia Dapa. It's good. I mean, it's good. It's restoring some confidence that, yes, we are going to get justice. I'm sure Gamanche, Kentucky Tech, the second, will also be very happy to hear that Mr. Raymond Atta is taking the file back and he's looking at it. We are also once again in court. You know, we sued IOCO AG on this matter because Godfrey Dami had given a legal opinion that IOCO cannot investigate Cecilia Dapa because there's no predicate offense. That's to say that there's no proof what wrong she did before she got those colossal sums of money. And we said, no, there's no such law in Ghana. Our law is that if we see you with money that is beyond your means, we can investigate you for money laundering. That's the Money Laundering Act. Is it Act 1044? Yes, that's what the law provides for. So that's why we are in court. Yeah, it's good IOCO sees that, no, the advice Godfrey Dami gave when he was in office as Attorney General is bad advice, but we'll also be pushing it in court. Yeah, so that we'll get a formal legal decision from the courts that no Attorney General should ever give that kind of bad advice again to IOCO.
All right. Counsel, appreciate you.